All right, we give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. They pick us up in the 5th chapter of John in the 39th verse. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? But praise be to Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Let's hit this Psalm 61, man, and get straight to it. Psalm 61:1. Hear my cry, O Elohim, attend unto my prayer. From the end of the earth will I cry unto you when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a shelter for me, a strong tower from the enemy. I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the covert of your wings, Selah. For you, O Elohim, have heard my vows. You have given me the heritage of those that fear your name. Shalom. You will prolong the king's life and his years as many generations. He shall abide before Elohim forever, prepare mercy and truth, which may preserve him. I will sing praise unto your name forever, that I may daily perform my vows. Now, we're also looking at the root of, and I meant to mention this last night, but praise you, it went the way that it went. We're looking at prolong. It's yasaf, means to add, to increase, to join oneself to, also to be added, but most importantly, to increase. Yod, samak, and pay. And you can proceed. Yod, samak, and pay. You skinning and grinning about them chips. You gonna be over there paying attention? I didn't say nothing about them chips, about whether you can have them or not. I say you skinning and grinning about them chips, but is you gonna pay attention? See, you was ready till you offend yourself and you weren't listening. It is prolong. It's yasaf, add, increase, also to do again. Yod, samak, and pay. Yod, samak, and pay. Hey, calm down, cuz. Because now you in the kitchen. And if you in the kitchen, you got to hold it down. Now, if you can't hold it down in the kitchen, you got to go outside. Because we're trying to cook. You understand?
The right hand on praise is infinite.
Say that again for me, sir.
The right hand praise is infinite.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Little Dale ain't trying to cook. We don't cook macaroni and cheese neither. We cook that hard white. Make you stay up all night. Anybody else? I got something. I'm just trying to see what y'all gonna come with. That's all. That's not bad. Neither one of y'all, what y'all said is bad. Not the direction that I'm gonna flow in, but I like it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come over here to John 6:60. And I'm gonna see if y'all can peep I was gonna say off of John 6:60. I ain't gonna tell you first. I'm gonna read the text, and then I'm gonna let y'all see if y'all can piece together what I would have used for that yod, samak, and pay. And the only reason I'm doing that because of the context of the direction I'm trying to go. Like I told y'all before, so a lot of times there is no right or wrong. It's just the context of where you're trying to of the point you're trying to make. I didn't want y'all to know that when it comes to that. There's some 99.9% of the time when it comes to looking at them characters and ascertaining something, there is no right or wrong. It's just about the direction or the point that you're trying to make. John 6:60. Many therefore of his disciples, you know what? I'm gonna back it up a little bit more. I'm gonna back you up to 53. 6:53. That's what I'm gonna take you to. John 6:53. I know one thing. If somebody had to teach you how to doodle, not to doodle on yourself within the last 5 years, you don't need to be talking. If you just had a diaper on, you don't need to be talking. Then Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Remember, we just talked about that, right? With that blood. You know what I'm talking about? He told you you could not eat the blood. The life is in the blood. And then he turned around and told you that a covenant does not affect as long as the testator lives. And then he said, take, drink. This is my blood in the New Testament, which is shed for the remission of sins. So in another instance, he turned around and told you you could do that because the life was in the blood, because the life is in the covenant. And what is the covenant? You don't have to answer that out loud. You can answer that in your inward parts. He said, whoso eat my flesh and drink my blood have eternal life, and I'll raise him up at the last day. My flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eat my flesh and drink my blood dwell in me, and I in him. As the living Abba hath sent me, I live by Abba, so he that eat me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from Shamahim, not as your Abbas did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth this bread shall live forever. These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they heard this, said, this is a hard saying. Who can hear it? When Yahushua knew in himself that the disciples murmured at it, he said, do this offend you? What and if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the Ruach that quickened. The flesh profit nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life. So what we would have took for that ad and that gain is you would have took that yard and you'd have made it that right hand, which means you're going to make that Yahushua and you're going to grab hold of Yahushua words. And that's how you're going to be able to prolong your days. So you can't prolong your days without anything other than that. Of course, we could have used John 12 and 49 for that also, because he said, my Father giving me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know his commandment is life everlasting. The other one key way to prolong your days is to grab hold to the word. You can't prolong it any other way. But the word of him whom he has sent, which is the king, because that's why the king's days were prolonged, were they not? That's why David's days were prolonged. That's why Mashiach's days were prolonged. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I will listen to something on my way over here. I may elucidate on it. I may not. It just depends how things go as the conversation moves. Let's go over here, back over here to 1 Chronicles 29, though. You can get that on deck. I just want y'all to keep that in mind when we're talking about the prolong of the king's life in his years as many generations. Now, let me just give y'all generations if you don't recall what it is. Of course, you know that is Dor. That is Dalit, U, and Rosh. And that is a period. That is an age. That is characterized by a quality, a class of men. It is also a dwelling place and a habitation, but also posterity. Y'all know what posterity is, don't you?
Posterity.
Huh? No, not your posterior, but your posterity. You know what your posterity is? Because you ain't got one. That's why you don't know. You ain't got no posterity. What it is?
Something else.
That's something only a man can have. Woman can't have no posterity. You know what that is? No, that's offspring. A posterity is a man's offspring. A woman don't have no posterity because she doesn't have a seed. So she doesn't have a line. I just seen somebody arguing about that online about biracial people. Talking about biracial people are just biracial. No, you what your daddy is. You know what I'm talking about? I know a lot of brews like to argue about that in the text, but that's just simple common sense because the man has the seed. So whatever your father is, that's what you are. I don't care if your mama was white. I don't care if your mama was Caribbean. I don't care if your mama was Middle Eastern. All that is irrelevant. If your daddy white, you white. If your daddy black, you black, because you of his seed, you're of his line, you're of his posterity. As simple as that. And people try to conflate all this extra stuff in here, and that junk is grossly irrelevant. What they do that for is because it continues to marginalize the importance of a man. That's all it's for. You know what I'm saying? So y'all don't realize, y'all realize it, but you don't realize it. And this goes into what I was talking about, what this lady, the older lady was talking about on my way over here. That most individual women, you have already been mentally and emotionally destroyed by your mama. You know what I'm talking about? So a lot of stuff that you looking at, you're dealing with men, that junk come from your mama. Your mama had already messed you up in the head. You know what I'm talking about? This is what's going on with what Jesse Lee be talking about. Your mama don't know how to love, so ain't no way in the world she was going to be able to teach you how to effectively love nobody, and she messed you up emotionally. That's why you have a hard time relating to a man.
You know this random Bob Marley is white man.
Yes, his father was Caucasian.
Okay.
His father was British.
He's British.
Yeah, he's British. He's Caucasian. Oh, you may have many of one West Brute, tell you that.
That's the Edomites, bro.
Yeah, he
For the record.
For the record.
They always said that.
Yeah, I mean, you are just, and that's just not on no trying to trace nothing. You just are, because people act like mixed race children is a new thing. You know what I'm talking about? Doggone Ptolemy II from Egypt was mixed. His daddy was Alexander the Great. His mama was a Hamite. His mama was whatever that lady name is that they like to talk about. I can't remember that whore name at this time.
What, Cleopatra?
Cleopatra, that funky whore. That's who his mama was. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about Ptolemy II or Ptolemy I, whichever one of them Ptolemies. Either way it goes, his daddy was Alexander the Great and his mama was a Hamite. You know what I'm saying? That's not anything new. You know what I'm talking about? That's why they didn't want to accept Jephthah, because his mama was a stranger, even though he was a Brew, because his daddy was one. But they didn't care because he wasn't full blown seed. Come on, Mac, the First Chronicle 29. I don't want to get off the beaten path. That don't I mean, dudes just be on some other stuff, man. You know what I'm talking about? But I say that a lot of that stuff come from, you'd have to look at that, right? Like, shoot. Do any of y'all feel like your mothers were emotionally abusive? You don't have to answer that out loud. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to. Because this is the thing, right? Most young women would need to converse with an older woman who actually had a healthy and functioning dealings with a man, not just somebody who just been with a man for a long period of time. You know what I'm talking about? To be able to tell you how to functionally operate with a man. And if your mother was emotionally abusive or emotionally absent, you know what I'm talking about? And then you thinking that, oh, these niggas done did this to you and did that to you. No, your mama did it to you. That's why you ain't able to do it. So, you know, the daddies always get blamed for it. But I know what the lady was talking about because I done seen it. I done seen some niggas whose mamas was real nasty. I just watched a video earlier today. This nigga big, rusty and grown. And his mama walked out there in front of all his friends and slapped him upside the head and told him, come on, you going home right now. This nigga grown. Talking about because the police out here, I was scared. This a grown man. You know what I'm talking about? That nigga, that ain't right. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I wouldn't care. Shoot, it should be freely thrown in the trash can. You know what I'm talking about? That's where it belongs. I mentioned that it's here, right? Because it's a twofold thing, man. There's a lot of thoughts been coming in my brain about that because I done seen that too. That's why I done told you ladies long time ago, don't reprimand your son and they got a father in there. Let him handle that. You don't need to yell at that boy. You don't need to hit that boy because you're going to mess the boy up in his head. And you don't even think that junk matter, but you're going to mess him up in his head. And you ain't going to realize it. Let his daddy handle that. Also, as a man, that's when you supposed to step in and tell that woman, you're not finna hit my son like that, and you're not finna talk to my son like that. You ain't just supposed to sit there and look at it because, oh, he was out of pocket. If she done overstepped the bound that you deem unacceptable, you supposed to let that be known that this will not go on in here. That way you won't have to be like what Jesse Lee be talking about with a lot of these dudes mad with their daddy because you ain't saved me from my mama. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all niggas done grew up in the hood. Y'all done seen some niggas mama like, boy, that nigga mama be going overboard. You know what I'm talking about? But see, that's what I told y'all about that nigga raising. You got to let that nigga raising stuff go on and flush that junk down the toilet. That junk don't work. And you know it don't work. But you want to hold on to it because you hold your grandma and your mama and all these people in such high regard and they failed you miserably. You know what I'm talking about? As if they could do no wrong. They did hella wrong. That's why you messed up in the head. But then it would damage the illusion that you done created about these people in your brain if you acknowledge that they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And they scarred you mentally and emotionally and have made it very difficult for you to interact with anyone for that matter. Not just on no interpersonal relationship as far as quote unquote romantically. You can't even interact with your children properly. And then you're going to turn around and mess them up in the head and they're going to keep on going. Because you don't want to deal with your parents was trash. It is what it is. Suck it up and move on. You know what I'm talking about? You just had to deal with it. Man, my mama ain't teach me nothing. My daddy ain't teach me nothing. That just is what it is. That doesn't mean you have to look at them any lesser. Just understand that they fundamentally set you up to be a flawed individual from your inception and conception. And it is what it is. See, this is the thing. You accept that, and then what you gonna do about it? Reason why I mention that because if your parents did you like that, your husband can't fix that. If your mama did you like that, your wife can't fix that. You got to fix that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Can't nobody love and nurture that up out of you, man. You got to do that. That's your personal responsibility. That ain't nobody else's personal responsibility. Even Yahuwah himself, he just gonna give you the tool. What you gonna have to do? You gonna have to fix that. You know what I'm talking about? See, we want to look at it because we're talking about if you want to prolong your life. If you want to add days to your life, you have to grab onto his word. And when you grab onto his word, what ends up happening? Let's look at Psalms chapter 4. Let's just do that. All right, now you ain't as surprised as you used to be. Sure, you ain't got to tell me because I know from firsthand experience. I know I ain't surprised. Things hurt every day. Used to be able to pop, and others can't do that no more. That junk hurt. Feels like there's going to be some arthritis coming in about 5 to 10 more years. Psalms 4 and 3. Know that Yahuwah has set apart he that is faithful for himself. Yahuwah will hear when I call unto him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. And offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in Yahuwah. Now, see, again, we were talking about sacrifices last night. So, see, when you turn around there and you bring the fat and you bring the kidneys and you bring the, I forgot the other part. That's the sacrifices of righteousness. Thank you, sir. And that's putting your trust in Yahuwah. If you can set your emotions and your heart at his altar and say, I'm willing to have this burned up before his face, that he might get a sweet smell and savor and accept it. Because you see what he told us to take outside. He said, take your skin, take your flesh, and take that dung and get that out of here. Don't bring that in here because I don't want it. That's why, see, pause. Come over here to Revelation 22. I'll work it. Hold this on, folks, real quick. Like we got 1 Chronicle 22 on deck too. It's not Revelation 22. I'm sorry. We just want to go straight to Revelation 21. I pick it up at 22 on general principle. 21 and 22 on general principle. 21 and 22. Revelation chapter 21, verse 22. A lot of stuff I done mentioned y'all over time here just for the fact don't pass that junk your people pass to you and pass it to your churn and say you love your churn, because then you're going to sit back and you're going to show through your actions that you ain't love your churn. Because you took negative traits that your people passed to you and you kept it and held it to yourself and passed it to them, and they're going to pass it to another generation. You know what I'm talking about? I done told y'all many a day, boy, that whole narrative can stop with you. That whole narrative can stop with you. Revelation 21 and 22. And I saw no temple therein, for Yahuwah Elohim Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the esteem of Elohim did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their honor, their esteem and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the esteem and honor of the nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defile. Neither whoso whatsoever work abomination or make a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. Look what he said, one coming in. Nothing that defiles. Well, guess what the flesh do? It defiles. So you can't bring that in there. Just why you seen where he told you to take that outside the gate. Don't bring that in here. So that's something that we have to look at, because you're looking at the flesh defile. The flesh is always going to be self-leaning. It's self. You can always tell when you're in the flesh because you're going to be self-centered. You're going to look at how everything gravitates around you, what you want, this, that, there, and the third. See, as the man can't be self-centered because he has to be focused on what Yahuwah wants. The woman can't be self-centered because she got to focus on what the man wants. And the children are supposed to focus on what the parents want, i.e. the father more specifically. So if you find yourself in an engagement and you're more concerned with what you want versus the party who's over you what you want, then you know you're dealing in the flesh and you being extremely selfish. And you're going to have to put that off and put that outside the gate. And we know, unfortunately, dealing in this society, most young women are taught to be selfish from their mothers because you already got the natural inclination in you to be self-centered to begin with. You know what I'm talking about? See, the father supposed to stamp it out, but if the mother's self-centered and he don't stamp it out of her, then she gonna pass it to you. This is why you have so many, and this is why young men are like this, because you raised by your mama, so you think the whole world rotate around you. And what you want and your concerns and your needs, and you don't really have any solitary idea of what it means to serve someone who is greater than you. Because the things that you classify as being greater is really not what makes a man great. A man can have a lot of money and be absolutely trash. Because most people don't value a strong character. They don't value a man who stands. So they don't value any of that because we have put so much emphasis on what someone can do for you financially. And if you're more concerned with what somebody can do for you. Oh, little muffin, they're trying to kill you. Come on, little muffin. Come on, little muffin. Come on, little muffin.
I'm sorry.
You don't care about that. Look how she do. Look how they do. You okay? I need you to sit right here, little muffin. Can you do that? All right. Hey. No, that's not what you're gonna do because your pain is going away. See, you're tired. That's your problem. Come on back to Psalms 4. We just want to go back and revisit commune. And you know, commune is amar, and that is to answer in one's own heart. Remember what Paul told you in 2 Corinthians, examine yourself, whether you be in the faith or not, lest you be reprobate. Can you examine yourself and say you full of mercy? Do you examine yourself and say you full of faith? Can you examine yourself and say you full of gentleness and long suffering? Can you examine yourself and say that you're selfless? That's the stuff you had to look at. Then you examine yourself and say that you got love in your heart. Because these are the things you're supposed to be looking for. Because what are the heavier matters of the law? He's looking at judgment, mercy, and faith. These are things that he delights in. Oh, you okay now? Are you okay now? Yeah, you okay because you want to get down. Go find your mother, little muffin. Go find Big Muffin. Abigail, she don't need your help. Amar is Aleph, Meme, and Rosh. And you can go ahead. Aleph, Meme, and Rosh. They ain't doing right by Issachar. They ain't doing right by him. I know. Say, you know full well that ain't what I want. You know what I want. He said, warm it up. Hey, boy said, I need it from the source.
Can't do that right now. It's not the time of getting out of
That boy said he needed from the source. She said she playing games.
I said strength of the highest is in the blood.
Strength of the highest is in the blood. Anybody else? Right. You got something? Or you just sitting there looking crazy because you miss your husband? You don't miss your husband. I sit back and I would say take that olive and make that strength and just the strength of the highest spirit, because that's what's going to cause you to actually reflect. Why would I say strength? Because you already know why I'm going to say strength. Because trust in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. So it's your faith in the highest spirit or in his word, which is going to cause you to reflect and say, I desire to be like him so he can prolong my days. Because he said he'll prolong who? The king's days. And if you are in the image of the son, then you are in the image of the king. So therefore, he'll prolong your days. Because y'all do know about the verse in Judges where he say everybody got the image of the king. Oh, y'all looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. Girl, ain't nobody playing with you. That's your problem. That's your problem. You think everything is a game. Everything. Come over here to the book of Judges. I want to say chapter 8.
Hush. Hush.
We're going to give you something to sleep with. That junk called a left jab, boy. Jab him. I ain't even know your mans was fighting this weekend. All them niggas amped up. Nigga just support that nigga because he black. That nigga is a certified idiot. You know what I'm talking about? Judges 8 and 13.
Michael.
Yeah. They were finna fight. They were supposed to fight a couple months ago, but it got postponed because one of them got COVID.
They fight next week.
They fighting on Saturday. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Selling dope. Mm-hmm. That boy was sitting there looking stupid. That cracker looked him in the face and said, "We don't believe the same thing." That boy, this was what caught my attention. Not the glazed look on his face, but how his tone incrementally lowered. Now, whether Tyson Fury serves Elohim and Ruach in truth or not, I don't know.
Not licking blood.
But you know what I'm saying? No, not licking, but that was on some other type junk because he said he. But I'm talking about the confidence of which he spoke by what he believed in. He was so automatically just see. This is different, right? When you see most people who believe in idols, they speak very boisterously and proudly as they're doing it. You know what I'm talking about, bro? That cracker did not elevate his voice when he was talking. It was just that you could tell that he was so confident in what he believed in, and you can hear Cuz voice just getting down. That nigga say, that cracker look that nigga face say, "I don't want to fight your ancestors." He said, I want the bronze bomber. He said, "I want you." He said, he told him the truth though. This is literally, he said, "You already lost." Because you relying on something you don't even know what that is. That man said, "I'm relying on God." See, but his attitude is the attitude that everybody who serves Yahuwah is supposed to have. You supposed to look at it. We can look at anybody. We're supposed to look at Satan and say, "Nigga, you already lost. So how would I even fear you?" That's why he say, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. Most people don't resist you, allow him to conquer you. That's what that older lady was talking about. She was like, most of y'all mamas got demons, and she trying to get a demon to you to get it up off of her. That's hard right there. See, that's hard talking. We didn't have conversations along these lines before. That hard talking when you go to have to talk about you got to examine your mama. Everybody love mama. Mama did some messed up stuff, and you don't want to deal with it. That the fact that it messed you up, you deal with it when you're in your bed at night. If you got a journal, you write it down and be like, "Boy, I sure hate my mom. I can't stand her." I'm dead serious, man. To see how that boy was looking, bro. That woman slapped that nigga upside his head, bro. Talking about, "Come on, come home. I'm your mama." I thank the Lord, boy. I love my mama, boy. I asserted myself a long time ago. I ain't gonna go for all that, especially not when I'm breaking bread in here. I'll be damned. You know what I'm talking about? No, sir. Once I go to paying bills and my name ain't on them, shoot, ain't nobody finna talk to me and tell me nothing. You know what I'm talking about? And that's just a simple fact. As a man, that's why I be telling y'all ladies, don't do them boys like that, because they get to that age, and that age is between about 8 and 11 years old, 12 at the max, when they begin to the thought process of asserting their autonomy and separating themselves from the leadership and obedience to a woman. And that's when y'all start coming through over the top extra hard to make him subservient under you, and you wonder why your son is simping a buster. You know what I'm talking about? That's when it happened, about 8 to 12. It's not that, "Oh, I hate my mama, I don't want to listen to her no more." But he begins to realize that he ain't supposed to serve no woman. He know he's supposed to be the ruler and dominator of his own existence. That's why I be telling you sometimes that's why the little boys get frustrated how they doing, because it's in them. It's in their nature to know I'm supposed to control my domain. I'm supposed to rule over my domain. Every man in here can tell you this. They all felt it at that age range. They just couldn't explain it to you. You know what I'm talking about? Because you begin to dominate your mother in size. Your voice begins to deepen. You begin to understand that you can manipulate and control your environment with your bare hands. And you love Mom Dukes, but at the end of the day, you grow tired of, I don't want to listen to this woman. I'm ready to get the hell out of here. I don't want to listen to you anymore because you ain't giving me nothing anyway. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to keep telling me what to do because he does not have a desire to serve a woman. It's not in him. But more women, they beat it in him. You know what I'm talking about? And they don't got to be physically beating it in them. They beat it in you psychologically and emotionally that you ought to submit to a woman. That's where the simps come. If you want to know where the simps come from, that's where they come from. That's why women who used to dealing with simps, when they dealing with a man who wants to manipulate and control his environment and will not yield to every whim, desire, and emotion of a woman, they don't know what to do. Because they're unaccustomed to that. And when I say yield, that's a nigga who willing to argue with you, nigga willing to go back and forth with you, a nigga willing to cater to that, a nigga who just be like, I don't care and I'm going to ignore you. You're going to give me what I want or I will deny you access to my entire presence. They don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that. That's what I think. You ever had a man say, I'm not going to fool with you no more because your behavior is unacceptable? How did that make you feel? But why did you feel less? But why did you want power and control? Did you really want it, or you just wanted the illusion that you had it? Or did you just have a desire to want to dominate and destroy a woman like you watched your mama do to your dad? You know what I'm talking about? I'm just telling you, see, and that's emotionally destroying you, not setting you up for success. Because you thinking it's your job to destroy this man. Why am I mentioning this? Because Yasharel felt it was their job to destroy that man. You know what I'm talking about? We already know what the text say. What did it say? I mentioned the other night. By the means of a what? Whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. Whorish woman, destroy your whole life. And a whorish woman is not just somebody who toot her coochie to any and everybody. That is a woman who is rebellious. That is a woman who is disobedient. That is a woman who does not respect the authority that is over her and feels like she must do any and everything to tear it down. That's what makes her a foolish woman. That's why she can't dwell in the house. Because you already seen what the text told a man to do, that if you got to, and see, contention ain't always arguing. What is contention by definition? Strife. And what is strife by definition? Adversarial conduct. And it say a man is supposed to separate himself from a woman who seeks to be in adversarial conduct, because the text tells you that that is a rebellious, evil woman who participates in such behavior. And what did Yahushua himself do? After he redeemed you, he went and dwelt on a rooftop, then to dwell in a wide house with a brawling and contentious woman, because you know, according to the law, that the land of Yasharal was wide, according to Genesis 15 and Genesis 26, because he expanded your borders, did he not? So there's your wide and brawling house. And he went and dwelt on the rooftop. Let's get the definition of rooftop real quick. Since I mentioned it, I thank the Lord.
I just think when he was like, yeah, birds have nests and the fox have holes.
The son of man don't got, I ain't got nowhere to sleep at.
I can't sleep in this house.
I can't sleep in this house. It's a contentious woman in here. Dang, man, I can't. There we go. Proverbs 20. We'll read both 21:9 and 25 and 24. Well, let's say the same thing. We don't need it. We'll just go 21:9. They say the same thing. It says it's better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. So when you look at brawling by definition is mid-yon. That's strife and that's contentious. So it's not brawling like she gonna fight, but it's contention. Why is that important? Is Yahuwah Elohim of contention? No, he is not. Is contention of peace? No, it is not. Elohim is the Elohim of shalom. He is not the Elohim of what? Disorder and confusion. Where strife and contention, the text tells you that there is what? Confusion. Hold on, let me get the verse for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Come over here to James chapter 3. Pick it up at verse 13. We still in what? Proverb 21, 1 Chronicle 29 on hold. John 6 is complete. Psalms 4 is complete. James chapter 3 and verse 13. Who is a wise man endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of his good conduct his works with meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, esteem not and lie not against the truth. So number one, if you got strife in your heart, he said it's better for you to keep your mouth closed. This wisdom descends not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. So he's telling you, and this is the thing when you look at the scribes and the Pharisees, because remember, that's the original foolish woman who we talking about before we even talk about the natural, because that's the foolish woman who pulled down her house. This is the foolish woman who he sought to get away from because they were content. Do we really need to go read all the places in the Gospels where they were contentious? They sought specifically to cause strife. See, remember, he said, blessed are the who? The peacemakers. So individuals who are Elohim are going to seek to make peace, not seek to cause contention and strife. That's not the way of Elohim. That's not how he operates. He seeks to destroy strife. He did that with your own life. You were in contention and strife against him, and he decided, I'll become a man to put the contention and strife to bed. Because he does not desire it. Because nothing good comes from it. Nothing good comes from strife and contention. Nothing. But what have we been taught amongst our people to continuously and constantly participate in? Strife and contention. And you wonder why nothing gets better because you're continually fighting. You're not coming down and saying, what can we do to bring peace to resolve the matter? Nobody wants to do that because that would take humility in order to do that. And that's what Yasharal was lacking. That's why they were continually striving with the man. Who gave you this authority? Oh, you talking about us? Urging him vehemently to continually talk so they can catch him up in his words that they may have means to accuse him. Who give you authority to forgive sins? All that is strife and contention because you did not come at all to resolve and put to bed any matter. Peace wasn't on your mind because you were more important on retaining whatever it was that you desired. That's where the scribes was at. That's where our people are at to this day. It has not changed. That is not just a feminine thing. That's our people all the way across the board. That's why I told you that competition is cool, but you ain't never supposed to teach girls competition. Girls ain't supposed to compete. Because if she compete, then she gonna want to compete with a man. Now you set her up to have a strife-filled and contentious interaction with her man. You know what I'm talking about? Boys are supposed to compete, but not to compete against other men, but to compete against themselves of what they're capable of in order to dominate their domain, in order to subdue it, that they might provide for their family. See, that's what you got to put all this European stuff, all these stuff these people talking to you about. Man, that junk trash. That don't what make no man. I don't care what none of these niggas talking about. What I look like competing with another man, and Yahuwah said that we supposed to have one heart and one mind. So I'm competing against my brother, nigga. That's jackassery. That makes no sense. I'm not worried about competing against the nations because greater is it he that is in me than he that is in the world. So I'm not concerned with them. So there's no need for me to compete with them. There is no competition. Yahuwah's on my side. How can they defeat me? You understand? That's the stuff we be worried about. You worry about it because you want Caucasian validation and celebration. That's what they want. Caucasian validation and celebration. And all it's leading it to is your degradation and damnation and separation. And you run into it. Well, guess what? No hesitation. You know, oh, that's just a little pimp. That's just a little pimping. Everybody need a little pimping there now and then. James chapter 3, verse 16. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. That's why he tell the man it's better for you to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman or a contentious woman, because wherever contention is, there's going to be disorder and wickedness. Now, that ain't my thought. That's Yahuwah. Because guess what? When we turn around and look at, see, let me show you something. Come over here to John 11. They let me cook, man. I'm talking about we got some good cocaine too. I ain't even step on it. You know what I'm talking about? I just put it in the water, just like this here, 600 jar. Holds on. What I need, man? Is it John 7 that I need? Yeah, it is. John chapter 7. I'm picking up at verse 37. I just want you to see what I'm talking about. As far as where the strife and contention was, or the envying and the strife was, there was confusion and evil work. So you can just see that James ain't just say that out of nowhere. When you got strife, ain't nothing but confusion and wickedness gonna come. And see, we look at wickedness as a whole bunch of other stuff, but the wickedness gonna be malice. It's gonna be spitefulness. These gonna be things of the flesh. But you need to take that outside the camp and burn it. If you want to dwell in this tabernacle forever. You understand? John chapter 7, verse 37. And the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. This spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKadosh was not yet given, because Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Many of the people, therefore, when they heard this saying, said of a truth, this is the prophet. Others said, this is Mashiach. But some said, shall Mashiach come out of Galilee? Have not the scripture said that Mashiach come out of the seed of David and out of the town of Bethlehem where David was? So there was division among the people because of it. Now you got your strife. Because remember, right? They envy it, because we already know. What did the text say? Pilate say he knew why they delivered him for. Because of envy. So they had envy, so that means they were continually striving with him, and that's why you had so much confusion surrounding him and nothing but an evil work, because they slayed him. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm talking about? And that goes back to when we talking about prolonging the days. Have you grabbed hold to Yahushua's words? Because that's the only way you're going to prolong your days. Have you grabbed hold to faith? Have you grabbed hold to righteousness? Have you grabbed hold to judgment? Have you grabbed hold to mercy? Have you grabbed hold to forgiveness? These are the things that he taught. Have you grabbed hold to peace? These are the things that this man said out of his mouth.
Let her go to that one. Go to one another.
Even what we were talking about the other day about loaning money, that's mercy. Because you giving to somebody seeking nothing in return, because Yahuwah gave to you and he sought nothing in return. And we can't extend that same courtesy. That's why he catches us with the hypocrisy. You want to extend mercy. You want Yahuwah to extend you mercy, but you can't extend it in return. You want Yahuwah to extend you understanding, but you can't extend it in return. You want all of these things, but you don't extend it to the people whom you say that you love. So how do you say you love him? He's not going. See, that junk sound good until you tell that to a man, because men are not going to accept that. I just seen the podcast where a nigga walked off the podcast, old Clint Coley, a comedian, because a dude say he was talking to his homeboy, and he say, you ain't going to be able to get no women because you ain't getting no money. And then he say the only women he was attracting were women with 3+ kids. And he said, you trying to say a woman's value was lesser because they got 3 kids? And that man said yes, and that nigga was offended. He said, this is preposterous. I can't stay on a podcast like this here. If this woman got 3 kids from 3 different men, that means she has a pattern of bad decision making. That means you would have to look at, like we were talking about before, no man saw, you either didn't see the value of being a wife over being a mother, which is absolutely insane, how you can see so many women who would rather be a mother than be a wife. But we know why a lot of women would rather be a mother than be a wife, because your children will not demand that you elevate your conduct and that you actually perform in the role that Yahuwah has created for you to be in. See, your children will not demand that from you. If you're in the presence of a man, he's going to demand that from you just by his mere presence. And most women would rather not be under that type of pressure that I must be a wife because nobody ever showed you what a wife was, and you would rather not. That's why a lot of these women say they'd rather be alone and they scared of commitment. They're not scared to be committed. They're scared to be a woman. And you're scared to be a woman because of your mama. Truth be told, your mama got you fearful to be a woman because you're fearful that you're going to be a low-level woman like her. But see, we don't have them conversations to see that damage. Because most men will tell you, if their daddy wasn't top of the rung, then they've already looked and examined the thing about their daddy that they do not desire to emulate. because they know if I don't look at the things that he has in him, I will become him, and I don't have a desire to become him if he is not a man of whom I hold in high regard and respect. See, men don't have no choice to do that. Men will do it with their daddy, but they won't do it with their mama, though. They won't do it with their mama, though, because they done put their mama up here. You done put grandma up here. But some of y'all know grandmas that got 4, 5 kids from 4, 5 different niggas. Your grandma was a whore. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody want to deal with that. Nobody want to talk about, don't talk about my granny like that. Shoot, everybody in her generation talk about it like that. And ain't nothing wrong with that if she look at right. According to my mama, my auntie, and my uncle, my granddaddy was a man of low degree towards them. I can't speak to none of that. And I can't say that what they said is not accurate. He very well may have been a very despicable, vile, and violent man. That ain't my experience with him, though. You know what I'm talking about? But I can still acknowledge the fact of it is established that this man was an alcoholic who abused his wife. I can't deny that fact that that's accurate. You know what I'm talking about? For me to deny that that's accurate is to deny reality. That's to deny reality. I can't deny that. But that wasn't my experience with him. So I'm not going to have that vantage point of him that they have. And guess what? They're entitled to have it if that's what they lived through and dealt with and the psychological scars that it laid upon their mental. You know what I'm talking about? Regardless, like I said, that old school stuff, right? Okay, grandma say, hey, I got to stay. Grandma damaged her children by staying. You know what I'm talking about? She damaged them by staying because you have damaged their ability to interact with the opposite gender. But and guess what? In that time, did you leave? Absolutely not. You stayed there. That's what happened. But then, of course, you had the reverse. Something we want to talk about. A lot of women do a lot more psychological damage to their spouse than a lot of men have ever dreamed to do. They just do it differently. So a lot of people are around talk about granddaddy slapping you upside the head, daddy slapping you upside the head, your mama slapping your daddy upside the head emotionally by starving him out of intimacy, starving him from support. You know what I'm talking about? Starving him of understanding and not bringing low love or service to him. You destroyed him mentally. That man defeated every day he walked out the door. Oh, but see, they don't want to talk about that. See, that's too much right there. I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to get to John chapter 7, man. I'm going to read verse 43 again. So there was division among the people because of him. Some of them would have taken him. No man lay holds on him. You see the evil word? Because of the strife. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, why have you not brought him? See, more evil word. The officers answered, never man spake like this man. Then answered them the Pharisees, are you also deceived, strife? So where there's strife, there's going to be what? Confusion. And where there's confusion, there's going to be every evil word. Have any of the rulers or the Pharisees believed on him? But the people who know not the law are cursed. Nicodemus said unto them that came to Yahushua by night, being one of them, do our law judge man before it hear him and know what he do? They answered and said unto him, are you also of Galilee? Search and look. For out of Galilee arise no prophet. And every man went unto his own house. Let's come back to this Proverbs 21. We good in James. See, I'm mentioning all this because if we're going to dwell in this tabernacle forever, we have to dwell in it in peace. Oh, man, you can sit up all on your own, boy, already. Oh, they got you. What, the weekend that burned his Bible? Oh, man, they ain't doing you right, man. They ain't doing you right, Harlem. They ain't doing you right. Let me see what we got with the house top. Now, kabir, that means association, company, band, shared association in society. And that's dealing with a wide house. It said it is better for you to not be in association with a contentious woman. That's why he tell you that because strife and contention come from pride. You know what I'm talking about? That's where that come from. And we know that he resists the proud, and that's why he can't dwell in your tabernacle, because he's not going to share association with a strifeful and contentious heart. He's just not going to do it. And of course, you got Gog for housetop, Gamal. I think we good. What we needed? We needed 1 Chronicles 29 again. Then, thank the Lord. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. One of the most difficult things a human being can do is deal with psychological, mental, and emotional trauma. And I can guarantee you that any psychological and emotional trauma that majority of individuals have came long before you became an adult. And 99.9% of the time, they came from your parents. And it's just much easier to blame your interactions with grown when you get grown and say that's where they came from. When most of the time your people gave you that and you just were too young to be able to identify how they had mentally destroyed you and emotionally destroyed you and not give you the ability to function with other adult people. Yes, little mother. Oh, okay. That's what you wanted to tell me? Thank you for sharing. Because you would have to ask yourself, did your people tell you how to love? Did they teach you that? And I ain't talking about no emotional love neither. One thing I can say, I can remember before my grandma passed away. She always said it. And remember, my grandma passed away when I was 6. And I can still remember. She said, love is an action word, baby. It's something that you do. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. What? I see. You're driving drunk, mother. But I don't know nothing about that, though. Well, ask your mama then. Or you can go ask mom. Go tell them. Go, mother. Go tell them. Oh, you with the shenanigans. Yeah, Sean said it really be those 15 to 18 years of life, which really does the emotional or mental damage that you carry with you into adulthood. You know what I'm saying? Most of us at that age are not astute enough. You know what I'm saying? Let me not even say astute enough. Yahuwah hasn't given most of us at that age the capacity to identify things that could be detrimental to you and not engage. Because
that's why that's your parents' job.
It is. You know what I'm saying? But then you have some people on this earth that Yahuwah see fits to give them a level of insight and understanding on how to not allow negative things to affect them that they may have experienced in their youth. That's something that can only come from above. You know what I'm talking about? If your parents are not equipping you with that, that only comes from above. That's not to say that you won't have bouts or like this here of, you know what I'm saying, getting low. You like this here questioning certain stuff. You know what I'm talking about? That's not to say that that's not going to happen. But everyone in here, I would wager at some point in time, you got a level of understanding or wisdom that you cannot explain where it came from in situations and scenarios until Yahuwah manifested himself to you completely. And then you began to understand that it was him that caused you to look at that situation in that fashion and not react in a negative way that it would have completely destroyed you. You know what I'm saying? It was him that gave you that insight. I'm telling you, this is not a mutually exclusive thing. It's like, oh, this only happened to me. It don't happen to nobody. This happens to everybody. Everybody is subject to like passions and experiences under the sun. And Yahuwah deals with man how he deals with man in order to prepare his heart to receive him. You understand? All the stuff that you experienced was to prepare your heart to receive him when he revealed himself unto you. Why do you think Moses received him the way he did? Everything Moses went through was to prepare him to receive Yahuwah. You understand? All that was to prepare him. When do you think it came out of Moses' heart to say, you know what? I don't want to be called Pharaoh's daughter. You understand what I'm telling you? He didn't know Yahuwah. He had never heard of Yahuwah. Where do you think that come from? Who puts that in his mind? Remember, Amos 4:13. I tell you that all the time. Do you remember what Amos 4:13 say? I declare unto man what his thought gonna be.
That's it. That's it.
You understand? He declares to a man what his thought gonna be. See, there's certain stuff I done told you before. I shared with this one here again. Boy, I can remember 6 years old. My granddaddy looked at me dead in my face and said, it's your fault your grandma died. And all I did was give him a hug. It clicked in my brain. He did something to that woman. This ain't got nothing to do with me. Now I'm 6 years old. Where I'm going to get that thought from? I remember that vividly because I seen it. Well, you ain't do this is before my people. I'm 6 years old. They ain't told me nothing about what this man did to this woman. I ain't know nothing about none of that. You understand? Boy, I was coming home from school, Justina Elementary. She was already dead. I couldn't get in the house. I ain't had no key. She was babysitting me, man. She was in the bed dead, probably been dead. I got to school 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So she was alive when I left. So somewhere between 7 and 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she passed away. And I can still remember that day vividly, sitting at the next door neighbor's house, hearing Stephanie Mills' home, and it clicked in my head, Grandma dead. I ain't need nobody to tell me that. I didn't need to hear them screaming when they went in there and seen her in there like that. And I done told you, I went and looked at the body, eyes wide open, laying in the bed, brown tan bra, brown pants on. Could still see it to this day. You understand? So, and this man's frustration that he know he didn't do right by this woman. He say, it's your fault your grandma died. And I was like, man, this ain't got nothing to do with me. That's not but Yahuwah. I can't understand that at 6. I couldn't understand that at 12 or 15, looking back on it. Because I'm telling you, I remember both of these events vividly. But when the word came, well, I knew that was Yahuwah. Yahuwah gave me that thought. Because that is mentally and emotionally damaging to tell a 6-year-old child. You understand that? You don't tell no 6-year-old child no junk like that, man.
Yeah, that's something that'll stick with you.
See, I thank the Lord. That was you. That was all you. Come on back to 1 Chronicles 29. 29 and 9. That's why I say you got to take care with them children, man. Especially if you a lady and you got daughters. How you expect them to serve and love their husband if you can't effectively do it? She just gonna do what you did. You gonna have a generation of messed up children. How we gonna sit back and say we serve Yahuwah and we do things that we know are purposely going to damage our children, and think that it's cool because we tell them to keep some Sabbaths and put a rag on their head, tell them some Hebrew names and some alphabet, but yet they won't have the understanding of mercy and compassion and judgment and utter cooperation through association, through dedication. How does that gonna work? Because nobody want to dedicate themselves to another party because you in fear. But you ain't in fear of the other person. You in fear of your own pain that the other person ain't got nothing to do with. That's male or female. That didn't say on no woman. You got dudes who fearful of women because they scared of their mama and what their mama did to them. We say it all the time. Jesse Lee ain't never lied. He said you ain't gonna get nowhere till you forgive your daddy for not protecting you from your mama. It's a lot of dudes around here got a lot of angst towards their mama. Cause their mama ain't cause their daddy ain't come through and deliver them from that wretched woman. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all know it. It may not have been your mama, but y'all grew up with niggas who had mama like that, where niggas was looking like, somebody please save me from this woman. You know what I'm talking about? Because this is something I told you before. It's a lot of women, they go overboard with the discipline on the boy because you think that that's going to make him orderly and structured. Because you think that's what it is because you don't have order and structure when you inherently. So you think extreme levels of discipline is what bring that about. It don't. It don't. Let's just look at the just the English definition of those two words since I mentioned it. Let's look at order first. Now listen what this is, right? Order is the arrangement of disposition of people and things in relation according to sequence, pattern, or method. It is also authoritative direction or instruction to do something. So that's why I say that there are a lot of women think, okay, I will extend order and discipline in this child by being excessively harsh with him when it's time to discipline him. And that doesn't give him the authoritative ability to lead and dominate his environment. Because notice it said authoritative instruction. And that's what a lot of women and a lot of young men, because we didn't have this conversation before, that's why they hate order, because they don't want authoritative instruction from a black man. You don't value his authority enough. You really hate him. You know what I'm talking about? You actually despise his very existence. And a lot of times you despise his very existence because of your mama. Now, when you look at structure, that is a construction or arrange according to a plan or a pattern of an organization. An arrangement of relations between parts or elements of something complex. And see, that's the part of the plan, because most women don't plan. That goes back to what we were talking about with foresight. And that's what we go to talking about where there's no vision, the people perish because there is a plan. And most people don't want to work inside the plan if they feel like the plan will not benefit them directly, or they can't see the benefit because it is not an immediate compensation. Again, it goes back to why I tell you why so many people walk away from Yahuwah, because they want immediate compensation. And because the compensation is not immediate, then therefore they do not want to submit to the structure or to the plan. You know what I'm talking about? Every man in here got a plan. I would wager, because you see them doing things to implement that plan. The question comes is the people in the organization, are they committed to the execution of said plan, working diligently together for the outcome? Because if we all in here say we serve Yahuwah, then having the ability to wait for a delayed outcome should be nothing for anyone in this room. Because you're waiting for a kingdom that you cannot see. So how could you even have any thought process of instant gratification where you will not even be gratified with the kingdom upon your death if this man ain't cracked that sky yet? Do you not remember what the book of Proverbs tell you? That hope deferred make the what? Heart sick. But when the desire comes, it's as a what? A tree of life. See, when your expectation is deferred, now you sick, you upset, you weak, you got a problem. And that's where your faith going to come in at, or where you going to actually see, do you believe in what you say you believe, because your hope has been deferred. How you going to dwell in this man's house and you can't even sit back and wait on your expectation? He said, if you can see it, then it ain't hope. That's what Paul told you. He said, but if you can't see it, then you'll wait for it. But niggas ain't got no patience. Because patience brings forth experience, and experience hope, and hope make not ashamed. That's what the word tell you. Ain't that what it tell you? Did you know that? It's all right. You all right. Let me get that Proverbs 10 and 12 for y'all who don't know what that's at. See, Lil Dale, we in here trying to cook. Let me go ahead and let you snuck this cocaine, boy. Come on over here. Come on over here and get you a whiff of this cocaine, boy. This straight. This ain't no Colombian, though. This all Hebrew. Yeah, this ain't no Colombian cocaine. This Hebrew cocaine. It might be 13 and 12 that's not what I want. But we can read 10 and 12. It'll work. Proverbs 10 and 12 will work. That wasn't what I wanted, but it'll work for now. Or 13 and 12 is what it was. 10 and 12 though. Hatred stir up strife, but love covers all sins. See, that goes back to what we were already talking about. That's why I say this will work. See, hatred is going to stir up the strife, which is going to stir up the contention, which is going to stir up the evil word. And what is it that you hate? You hate authority. You know what I'm talking about? But he say love covers sins. That goes back to, let me get to Luke 17, man. He say love covers sins. Let's see if we got love in our heart. Because we just talking about what we've been talking about. Just make everything line up. Because Yahuwah is good, his word faithful, and his mercy endure forever. That's what he told you. Ain't that what he told you? That's what he told you. 17 and 7. I mean, not 17:7. I'm sorry. 17:1, if you would. Luke 17:1, if you would. Then said he unto the disciples, it is impossible that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. It is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and cast into the sea than he should offend one of these little ones. Take heed to yourselves. If your brother trespass against you, rebuke him. And if he repent, forgive him. But if he trespass against you 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day turn again to you, saying, I repent, you shall forgive him. So now you have to look at something, right? You have to make sure that somebody has trespassed against you and your feelings ain't just hurt. Because a lot of dudes be thinking brothers been done trespass against them, and they feelings just be hurt. I ain't talking about no man dealing with a woman. I'm talking about men dealing with men. You got a lot of men who act like, man, that nigga did me wrong. And when you ask him what he did to you, and he go to talking, this nigga feelings hurt. This man ain't did nothing to you. He ain't got nothing to repent to you for. One thing I can say, right, ain't no need to repent to nobody if you said something and what you said was truthful and you meant what you said. I ain't apologizing for nothing. If it was accurate and I said it and I meant it, I'm not apologizing for that. And I can't apologize for how it made you feel, because that's a personal problem. You know what I'm talking about? That ain't got nothing to do with me. That'd be like Yahuwah apologizing because he said something and it offended you. And since you want to know why I said that and why I take that stance, 2 Corinthians chapter 7. Because my stance is rooted in the word, if you did not know. But if you did know, you will know. 2 Corinthians 7 and 8. Now, we ain't talking about, see, there's a difference if you say stuff and you being malicious. If you being malicious and spiteful in what you got to say, then you ought to apologize for that because you wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? We talking about, boy, you said that in sincerity and truth out of love. There ain't nothing to apologize for. But if you knew what you were going to say was purposely going to injure the other person, you dead wrong for that. Because that ain't right. That's of the flesh. That ain't an Elohim. Elohim don't say stuff that he know going to purposely injure somebody. Because 9 times, I'll be honest with you, right? When people be angry, they just going to go ahead and tell you that's how they really feel.
Drunk.
That's how they really feel.
Hey.
You know what I'm talking about? And if a nigga don't love you and they just tolerating you as a man, just tell them to dip. Ain't no even if you don't love somebody, what you staying there for? I tell people, you don't love Yahuwah, what you staying here for? What type of sense that made? If you don't love him, what you there for? Don't make no sense. Going to be the harlot you were born to be.
Harley. Yeah, Harley.
You want to worship other gods? Shoot, get on your worshiper. 2 Corinthians 7 and make it 5 though. Well, shoot. You can make it 1. Receive us. We have wronged no man. We have corrupted no man. We have defrauded no man. I speak not this to condemn you, for I've said before that you are in our hearts to die and to live with you. Great is my boldness of speech towards you. Great is my esteeming of you. I am filled with comfort. I am exceedingly joyful in our tribulation. For when we would come to Macedonia, our flesh had no rest, but we were troubled on every side. Without were fightings, within were fears. Look what he told you. He said without they were fighting. Inwardly there was a little nervousness. We had a little trembling and quaking going on. He said, not by his coming only, but by the consolation wherewith I skipped the verse. I'm sorry. Nevertheless, Elohim that comfort those that are cast down, comforted us by the coming of Titus. See, that's the difference. And you can see that with Mashiach. When he was cast down, who he sent to comfort him? When Moses was cast down, who he sent to comfort him? Son Aaron. Anytime you see somebody who cast down, he going to send somebody to lift them up. And again, we're not talking about no man with it wife. We're talking about men to men, because men got to go out here and deal with stuff that women ain't got to deal with, that y'all can never understand. You have to ask yourself as a lady, have you even ever thought in your brain the type of things that men have to do and deal with on an everyday basis? Because if you did, then it would adjust your interaction with the men in your life that you say that you love. It'll adjust your interaction of how you interact with your son. Because that junk don't run through your brain. Because all you thinking is, I want what I want when I want it. And you have no idea the things that men have to deal with because you don't give a damn. And you don't give a damn because you really don't care about men. You only care about what that man can do for you. And that ain't the attitude to have. That ain't real love. You know what I'm talking about? That's why most men look at it. That woman ain't never going to love you. Because the minute you stop making her feel the way she want to feel and you can't do what she wants you to do, and she ain't going to love you no more. Now, see, women, they don't have to you don't have to swallow that type of truth, because ain't no man loving you based on how you make him feel and what you can do for you, what you can do for him. He loving you for you. See, that's a reality that women, a reality that you'll never have to live, that you don't understand, that you don't love that man for him, but he loved you for you. And the only person that a man knows, woman that a man knows that remotely may love him for him is his mama, and possibly his grandmama, maybe an auntie. And he got to live his life knowing that every woman he encounters don't give a damn about it. Now, see, that's a hard reality. Y'all ain't got to face it, but y'all don't give a damn about that because y'all think we just talking. But that's the reality that every man in here know, that they have conversations with themselves or with others.
No, that's true, because when you did a lesson one time, you asked us why we chose to set our love upon our women.
Indeed, I did, for that very reason.
And that John true is just be simple, like you this and that.
That's it. That's why when you hear a woman, the first thing she say, what you want in her, a provider? She ain't gonna have to talk about nothing about no character. Nothing about no elements of character. What can he do for me? That's why the relationships in this present day time don't last. Because the minute he can't do it, she gone. The minute he can't feed her emotionally, she's gone. Because you didn't love him for him. But he loved you for you. You know what I'm talking about? That's why he say Yahuwah loved you for, because most of us don't love Elohim for Elohim. Most of us love Elohim for what you hope he can do for you. Most people don't love Yahuwah because he's gentle, because he's good, because he's kind, because he loves judgment, because he loves mercy, because he's an Elohim of truth, long-suffering, and forgiving. You don't love him for none of that. This is why, truth be told, just as he said, women don't know how to love. It ain't in them. That's why you got men who walk this earth that feel that way, and who, let me say that feel that way, that think that way and believe that way, because that ain't no feeling. That is a thought through actual critical data and observation that they can sit back and see that. And personal experience. Can't leave that out. But you know, like I said, I seen that from personal experience. But what caused me to understand that in the natural is when I began to serve Yahuwah. And I seen that people didn't love Yahuwah for who he was. They loved him for most people who came in. You go to talking about, boy, you got to get the Holy Ghost, the Ruach. That's all they wanted for him was that benefit. They didn't love him for who he was. That power he would give him. They wasn't looking at, boy, this man kind, boy. But this man faithful. But this man understanding. But this man got wisdom. Well, this man forgive. They ain't look at none of that because they didn't value that. Why about what I told y'all for years? Dudes don't want to preach the gospel because there's no benefit, because the gospel, they don't value that. Because when you preach the gospel, you talking about the things that Elohim is. Those who preach it mean they love him for who he is. And the benefit of who he is extends us the benefit of everlasting life, that we might dwell in his tabernacle forever. But we ain't loving him for what he can give us. We loving him for who he is. Because I was mired in sin and death, and here's this forgiveness with him that he might be respected. So therefore I love him because he forgives. Then I love him because he long suffering, because he dealt with me in my folly when he could have exterminated me. You understand? I love him because he's gentle, because even in my stupidity, he used means to be able to get me understanding so I could accept it when the appropriate time presented itself. I know that he's an Elohim of truth. So therefore, I know that he is steadfast and reliable. He's a rock. He ain't going to change. He ain't going to move. I can depend on him. So I love him for that. Then he's patient. So that means he's going to take time with me because I'm stupid. You know what I'm talking about? See, we don't love him for that. Oh, we looking at it and say, what my blessing at? You know what the niggas say? Prayers goes up, blessing go down. I ought to hit you in the head with that glad bar. Well, Yahuwah is an awesome Elohim, but they don't love him for that. People just want what he could give. See, the key component, and it's not to say for a man to be no bum, but if your man ain't had nothing to give, would you love him for who he is? That's why I used to always, this is something I used to do in high school. I love him. What you love about him? This questions I'm asking chicks 16, 17 years old. I already know you don't know nothing about no love, you ignorant heifer. Because you sound stupid. You can't even identify 3 qualities that you love about this man, but you talking about you love him. You love the way he touch your vagina. That's what you love. You love what he buy me some Minute Maid and some chicken wings in the lunch line. That's what you love. Oh, you love that he stay fresh. All this superficial stupidity.
Baby love because all the other girls we love.
You know what I'm talking about? Just simple. And get what? That's why the daddy supposed to vet. Cause I don't know. We done had this conversation. You let a woman pick a man, she ain't gonna pick the man that's best for her. She gonna pick the man that make her feel best.
Yeah.
A man gonna pick a woman he feel like gonna further his aims and be a good steward of his offspring. See, that's a practical, logical selection. Well, if a man reach maturity, if you get married young, you ain't thinking like that, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. You ain't gonna have too many young men thinking like that. Once a man hit about 35, that's why a lot of brothers recommend dudes don't get married till they about 35. You know what I'm talking about? When you hit about 35, you begin to examine how this woman is gonna line up with what you got going on. You're not picking this woman off the stuff that you may pick her for when you're young. You're not gonna do it. Now, if we was to go back 100, 150 years, yeah, go ahead and get married young. But in this society right here, it's shoot. Young nigga, go and get your money, man.
Yeah, like if you not hitting the range, you just out here solo.
Yeah.
You ain't getting no guidance.
Yeah, no, just get your money.
Get your money away.
Just get your money away.
Couple days a week.
You know what I'm saying? Get your money away. Then we're talking about if you ain't got dealing with no word. If you're dealing with some word, that's a different conversation. 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7. And not by his coming only, but by consolation wherewith he was comforted in you, when he told us your earnest desire, your mourning, your fervent mind towards me, so that I rejoice the more. For though I made you sorry with a letter, I do not repent. Though I did repent, I perceive that the same epistle have made you sorry, though it were but for a season. But now I rejoice, not that you were made sorry, but that your sorrow to repentance, for you were made sorry after a godly manner, that you might not receive damage by us in nothing. Godly sorrow work repentance to salvation, not to be repented of. But the sorrow of the world work death. For behold, the self-same thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort, with carefulness it worked in you. Yea, what clearing of yourselves. Yea, what indignation. Yea, what fear. Yea, what vehement desire. Yea, what zeal. Yea, what revenge. And all things you have approved yourself to be clear in this matter. See, that's the thing, right? He talking about I made you sorry after. See, godly sorrow meaning that you moved to the repentance like David would move. See, if you around here sorry about life, that's of the world, you going to hell. Because he said death. When we talking about death, we talking about that grave, man. Because if you talking about hell, we talking about death. When we talking about death, we talking about that second death. We ain't even talking about no flames of fire. You have to look at it as that separation from Yahuwah. You are the brawling woman in the wide house that he must get away from. You understand? He don't want association with your contention and strife. So therefore, he must depart from you. That's why he tell them foolish women when he shut the door. I don't know you. What you knocking on my door for? Because I can't have no association with you. Remember, that house means association. And that association should take you back to what we were talking about when we were talking about don't defraud your spouse, because that's cohabitation, which is association. And that association should take you back to John 17, because they should be made perfect in one. Because he that sanctified and he that is sanctified all are one. For which cause he's not ashamed to call them brethren. We ain't supposed to have association with strife and contention and say we are Elohim. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. And unfortunately, these aren't things that we are told. So we end up participating in that. Most women are taught to fight with a man on every cut and corner. And most men are taught to engage her in said fight. And nothing positive comes from that. And the children are damaged from it. Most of us, you sat back and seen your people argue and fight. What did that do to your mental to see that on a consistent basis? God forbid. One thing I can say, man, tell you, man, if you having a discrepancy with your spouse, please don't do that junk in front of the church. Don't even do it close enough for them to have earshot. That's just something that they ain't supposed to see. What baby crying? You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. Boy, if it come down to that conversation or that dispute can be heard in the earshot of the children, it's best not to even have it until you can get somewhere where they not present. I done felt like that my entire life. Now, I didn't grow up seeing that. Come on, my man had no man in the house. So to hear no disputes and fights, I'm unaccustomed to that. I'm unaccustomed to that. My house was peaceful. That's what I'm accustomed to. I only desire to live that way. You know what I'm talking about? Like this here. Now, my auntie, I can't speak on that. Her husband was an idiot. I don't know what type of contention and strife went on when I wasn't present. Did I see some from time to time? Yes, I did. And I didn't particularly care for it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to live like that. I don't like to be around it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not accustomed to that. I'm not accustomed to a negative living environment. I don't care for it. You know what I'm talking about? And everybody does things according to what you're accustomed to from your youth. Because if you lived in a chaotic, negative environment, then you're more than likely going to manifest that in your environment when you become an adult. Because that's what you're accustomed to. Unless you hated it so much that you would say, I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want to live like that. That's the same way if a nigga been poor, nigga been hungry, boy, nigga get out here and get it, boy. Just for the simple fact, boy, I don't want to live like that. You know what I'm talking about? See, hopefully none of y'all had that experience of what it's like to be hungry and be poor. I have, boy. That just give you a different perspective on life. It also give you an understanding what Yahushua told you. Hey, by taking one thought, can you add 1 cubit to your stature? So therefore, I can't even be focused on the things I can't control. As long as he give me my daily bread to shoot, we'll just deal with it as it comes. Because ain't much I can do. I can plot, plan, and scheme and do all what I want to do. But if Yahuwah don't bring it to pass, you already know what it is. Just take that P off, and that's what you're going to be. Mm-hmm. And put an out behind it, because that's what you're going to be. You know what I'm saying? Being poor help you understand that. Going without help you understand that. That's how you can be able to deal with that adversity when it comes. You know what I'm saying? Which we already discussed that when we were talking about that on atonement. Adversity brings forth humility. If you ain't never had no adversity, then you don't really know what it is to be humble. Because you ain't never been humbled in life. And one thing for certain, life will humble you quick. You know what I'm saying? But it's good for your progression. See that humility that life brings, that's where the wisdom comes from. That's how your understanding expands. That's why he say with much knowledge is much grief, and with much wisdom comes sorrow. Because to get that knowledge and that wisdom, you're going to have to go through some humility. And usually when you be humble, that junk coming behind some adversity. You just don't get no wisdom. He just here, take it. You're going to have to be humble. We're going to start right here, man, because it's 9:30. Hallelujah for Yahushua in the word, man. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Bless y'all the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Okay, hello, Abigail. That don't mean you get in my camera. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Tomorrow it is a regular 9 o'clock start time because it's the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? Let that be known. It's the Sabbath.
Let that be known.
Not, just because it's speed time don't mean that the times change. Regular time, 9 p.m., because it's the Sabbath. And then we'll pop it off. Then Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, we'll pick it up at 8:30 because we have Saturday afternoon service, which means we'll probably cut the Saturday afternoon a tad bit shorter than normal because we're going back to back like that. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate y'all time, man. Yahuwah willing, he continue to strengthen you. You know what I'm saying? Hold it down, yo, man. And just let us pause, reflect, and consider on his word throughout the course of this week, that we might become a version of Yahushua as we claim and profess that we desire to be. Let his word continue to dwell in your heart, give you peace, give you joy, give you comfort, and Yahuwah willing to the next one. What may I do for you, young Jeremiah James Bird?
Jeremiah James.